We're here to remind ourselves who we are. And today's subject matter is we are born to be happy. Did you know that? I can prove it to you right away if you've forgotten. What is everybody looking for in life?
Happiness.
Correct. Why would you look for something if you hadn't experienced it before, right? So why are most of us not happy? Why are people going on with long faces? Because we've forgotten. We just totally forgotten that we were born to be happy. Creation started, right? And when creation started, what was Adam told? When Adam and Eve, don't eat from the fruit of the tree. And that story's been so misunderstood. What the divine energy, the universal force was trying to say is, don't be selfish. Whatever you have, don't eat for yourself. Share it. Mm-hmm. And if you see in life, when it's I, me, and mine, you kind of lose your peace. Have you noticed? When I first started studying this science, I noticed. I really studied my own mind because I learned one simple thing when I first started yoga, that the only person that could make me happy was me. I had spent so much of my time blaming my husband, blaming the country, blaming my work, and everybody was to blame because Nalanie wasn't happy. What a big ego. My world was based around I, me, and mine. And I really, 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 really believed that that was the only way to be. And everybody was wrong, and I was right. Since then, I've learned most people start from the same place as I did many, many years ago. And of course, when my master walked into my life as a guru, I knew him since I was 5, but I didn't recognize him as a guru. I thought I could do this on my own. But when he walked into my life at the age of 33, I looked at the way he stood up, the way he walked, the love that emanated from him, the way he lived his life. It was just his presence. I can't even say much more than that. In fact, he spent the first week here in Marbella, near the Benavides area. I had a client there in those days. I was in the fashion business, and when he was coming to Gibraltar, when he called me, he said, I'm coming. I go, oh my God, I have a tiny 3-bedroom apartment. Where am I going to put him? And I had this very wealthy client who was absolutely so excited about meeting a guru. She said, Nalanie, don't worry. I have a villa with 10 rooms. You come over with your husband, with your children, and we'll put Gurudev up. I mean, things work. When you work with purity in your heart, life works for you. I promise you. This is something I can really promise you. You may go through a tough time, but things work when you work with love. So anyway, not only did she organize for us to stay there, she also brought 2 chefs from UK to cook him Indian food. So I didn't even have to worry about cooking. So anyway, that week was quite special. It was really, really quite special. And then I thought, I'm wasting my life being so miserable. So when he left after the week, just as he was leaving for the airport, and I think many of you know this story, and I said to him, I can't go back to being the way I was. I've been elevated. My mind, my heart, my soul, my spirit, I feel alive. And I said, what do I need to do to keep this energy? Because I'm really not interested in anything else, And he said to me, and I keep saying this, but please listen to these words, because if you listen to these words, I promise you also, you will find your way in life, You will find your way in life. And this is a very short time, as Shanti says, So we really... So we really, really need to be happy. We really need to be happy. So anyway, what happened was he said to me these 3 words, these 3 things. He said, stop complaining. Love wherever you are. Okay, can you do that? Hard, but possible, right? Mm-hmm. Stop complaining. Love wherever you are. Okay, I can try and do that. Purify your mind. Okay, I can also try and do that. And 3, meditate. I could also try and do that. And I said to him, but I don't know how to meditate. He said, you've read enough books, just do it now. And it's true, you know. I had read so many books, but you all know, you can read the books and have the right words, but until you do it, you don't know it. You know, I've heard so many people lecture about the self and the higher self, and then when something goes wrong, they fall apart because they don't. You have to practice, you know, and this is what I tell people again and again. Nobody can practice for you. You have to practice for yourself. And then what happens? How do you find your happiness? By recognizing who you really are. Who are we? We are the self, the Upanishads tell us. You know, they're the great, great old scriptures. So what is the self with a capital S? Some people call it God. Some people call it universe. You know what? Let's forget about all the words. They get us into trouble. Let's get in touch with the feeling of this divine source or this energy. And for me, you know, I studied many years. In the old days, I thought of this God as somebody out there, and I was separate. And when I started to discover that everyone, each one of us, has the divine energy. So if we have the divine energy, our job as human beings would be to discover this happiness, which we're always looking for in the wrong places, outside of ourselves, to go within, which is what I did, and discover that connection. And you know the word yoga, what it really means? Some of you took the course with me last week. What does it really mean? Union. And union what? Your human side with your spiritual side, or your higher self. And when you have that union, you're constantly in a different vibrational field. And I found that vibrational field has a lot to do with love. And he said, love where you are, right? Love where you are. You see, we're never happy where we are. We always think, if this happens, I'm going to be happy. If I make so many millions, I'm going to be happy. If I have this home, if I have this lover, if I have this, if, it's so many ifs that we're waiting for the rest of our life to be happy. But we just change the chip in our mind and say, I have everything I need. Everything is a bonus. And you may not feel that initially. You may not feel that initially, but that's the start. And you know, today we are so blessed because there is so much knowledge out there. There's so much knowledge. When I started teaching this 30 years ago, people thought I was speaking double Dutch. You know, my first teacher trainings, I had to repeat the same thing like 1,000 times. And now we do 5 days and they've got it, you know. So we're living in a world where we're very, very lucky. And we can, if we really put our mind to it, if you really, really want to be happy, you know, and you really, really want to find your peace, then work for it. Sri Patanjali in the science says it just doesn't come like this. Don't think you read 10 books and you know it all. Actually, the books will make you feel very intelligent but very stupid practically. You know, it's better if you don't read and you study life. And study people and study yourself and study yourself and study yourself and be truthful to yourself and find where you're weakest and don't focus on that. Focus on where you are strongest and start to be that. Because we are really, truly, truly, truly our worst enemies, but we're also our best friends. So we can decide, you know, and for me this was a decision at the age of 33. That's it. I'm sick and tired of all this I just can't deal. I don't want this. And then started the journey of many, many years. Many, many years. And the first thing I learned is forgiveness. If you cannot forgive, it blocks your meditation. It blocks the way you work. You cannot connect with that divine source because it is love. And love is not, you know, the energy doesn't decide. I mean, the sun doesn't decide, I'm going to shine on you and I'm not going to shine on somebody else. It shines on everyone, good and evil alike, right? So this energy shines on all of us. It's up to us whether we draw the curtains open or we close the curtains. That is our choice. So things like, and this is where all the scriptures help us, right? Because they all tell us, love thy neighbor as yourself, right? All the scriptures from every tradition. Serve, love, give, every tradition. Every tradition, where is your light? Within you. Buddha says, the radiance of Buddha shines in the hearts of all. The Upanishads, deep in the hearts of all, live the light of all lights. The Lord of love, no larger than a thumb, lives in the hearts of all. Christianity, the kingdom of heaven is where? Within. The Psalms, Old Testament, be still and know that I am God. Wow, look at all those things. And what is God but love? And what is God but joy? When are you most happy? And this is where, I saw the scriptures. I saw some very rigid schools as well. I went through that, where you don't do this and you don't do that and you don't do that. You end up just frustrated and angry at yourself and judging yourself. And when you judge yourself, you judge everybody else. So that didn't work for me. Then I see the schools that are too loose. Let's go into trance and sing and all this is going to disappear. Not practical also. Let's be hippies for the rest of our life. Let everybody feed us and beg for the rest of our life. I think that's a little lazy also. You see, that also doesn't work. So where does it work? Here, when we're quiet, in here. And our master used to say, if you take an elastic band and you make it so tight, what will happen? It will crack. And you have it too loose, what will happen? It's not useful. So we talk about balance, and when we are in balance, we can be happy. I would even go one step further. Forgive me. It's really, for me, happiness is not even about it. It is the sense of peace, the sense of family. For me, family. We're family. We are family. We are human race, Humanitarianism, for me, this is the truth. Because, if we don't look after each other, and if we don't look after the animals, and if we don't look after the earth, and if we don't give our hearts to these things, who will? What's wrong with our earth now? Why are people unhappy? We're creating the karma. We kill without thinking. We hurt people without thinking. Our words from our mouth are so cruel. I see so many couples, when they argue with each other, and I go, okay, you don't get along, but do you have to speak to each other in such foul language? Why do you need to do that? You can just say, okay, I don't get along with you, finish, done. Why do you have to shout and scream and call people idiot and stupid and four-letter words, We are so cruel. There's no need for that. And we call ourselves civilized. What's civilized about that? What's educated about that? What is cultured about that? There's no culture in that way of speaking. Culture is speaking with respect to everybody. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, namaste. I see the divine in you, and you see the divine in me. We just don't agree mentally. Okay, and walk away. You don't have to convince anybody about who you are and what you are. And this is our problem. Again, always trying to impress. What are people going to think about me? Do you really think anybody cares when you're on your deathbed? Who's going to be around you? A few close friends. If that. And your family. Ask all those who've lost someone. They'll tell you. They'll tell you who's with that person at the end of the day. So you live your life pleasing everybody else, and the people closest to you, you're the cruelest to. I mean, where do we get this thinking from? And that's why we're not happy. And I always tell people, happiness starts at home. And my master always said that to me. Charity begins at home. And so, first place to look, my home. I loved my husband very much at that time, so much. But my God, did we argue. Why? Because I always had to be right and he always had to be right. And we were so different. We were so different. He was into finance and, mathematics and computers, and I was into art and, all the different things, spirituality. But that was the magic in the relationship. And when my master taught me not to look outside and inside, I saw that he was the best teacher for me. Because it's very easy to love somebody who thinks exactly like you. It's easy. The test is, can you love somebody who's totally different from you and accept them? And so there began my first test. And I realize now, instead of, he's my enemy and it's your fault that you brought me here and I was so happy and all, my first test was, you brought me here to make me bigger than who I am. And I was I was a little weakling. Somebody says boo and I would cry. And now I'm so strong. I thank him for that. Because, I used to say, why don't you say you love me? And say, you should know. How many men know this? We women can be a bit soppy, Don't you say you love me? Come on, wake up, Nalanie. So, he said, you should know. And I should know, because actions speak louder than words. Who would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and bring you a hot glass of water when you're meditating? I mean, who would do that? And is that not love? Do you need to hear the words to know love? We become so superficial with love. Love is much, much deeper. So grew this relationship, until he passed. And some of you knew him really well, Sue. And he was charming, wasn't he? And at the end, he was just, he loved what I was doing. In the first 15 years, he gave me a tough time, but I rode through that. Why? Because I knew if I ran away from somebody I loved because they're different, I could never understand total acceptance and love. The only way I could do it is to ride the wave and come out the other side. But also for him, he had to ride my wave and come out the other side. And we did that. And when he finally did that, I guess that was his time to go. It was the hardest thing for both of us. But that's life. We all have to leave sometime. And he died so beautifully. I must say we have these images of how spirit should be or how it should look like. And we expect people to be the way we think. But what is spirit but understanding, love, communication? We are family. And this is kind of like when you start getting away from the personal and you start to feel the family feeling, and every time the ego comes up, and this is, you read all these scriptures and they say, the ego is bad. And again, that is a false illusion. My master said, we all need an ego, otherwise we wouldn't be individuals, right? We'd all be carbon copies of each other, and that's pretty boring. We don't really want to do that. But what do you do with the ego? You purify it. You don't say, ego, step away, scold yourself. I've got a big ego. No, your ego will just grow bigger and bigger and bigger. All you do is you notice. Whenever I'm in my ego, whenever this person has done this to me, that's that kind of feeling, that's the panic attack, you can feel yourself doing that, then you recognize it. And then you have to ask yourself, do I really want to live like this? And the choice is ours. We can live like that for the rest of our life if we want to. Choice is ours. But I always tell people, why do you want to live so miserably when you can live in laughter? You get only one chance in this body, as we know. The next time we come, we don't know what kind of body we're going to have, do we? Or we don't even know where we're going to be, or which planet. Look at the galaxy. Somebody was telling me the other day that now they're discovering new planets and giving them names, and I go, it's infinite. It's infinite. It's infinite. Isn't that exciting? It's infinite. And we're never going to die. We're infinite. Energy doesn't die. We go back into space. So, but that's why we asked to be human beings, to live and enjoy it. But instead of enjoying it, we're just giving ourselves such bad rap, and nobody's doing to us. We're doing it to ourselves. I mean, look at the world today. What's going wrong? Greed, 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 greed. Why do people do this to each other? Why do we hurt each other when there's so much good we can do? Really, in this day and age, there should be no poverty. There really should be no poverty. You know what? We're so blessed to have everything. Let's see where they don't have anything. And where can we lift spirits? This is what we need to do to be happy. When we make other people happy, you feel happy. Don't you feel happy? When you go home and your partner smiles, you smile, you both smile, you have a great evening. You go home with a long face, your partner has a long face, everybody has a bad evening. It's really, spirit is so simple. It's such a simple, simple, simple language. Really, really, the words namaste. I am you. You are me. Such a simple thing to do, and I think if people in relationships, whatever relationship, gay or heterosexual, really for me doesn't make a difference, if you can just, every morning remind each other, that's all we need to do. That's the practice. You see, the practice is reminding each other. And when you practice like this on a daily basis, and then spend some time, because your life outside is full of love, you can go in within easy, very easy to go inside. But we can't meditate if we're full of anger and full of judgment, and we're cruel and we're greedy and we're constantly comparing ourselves to everybody else. We cannot find that peace. So what we need to do is, we have this word in yoga called pratyahara. Can you all say it? Pratyahara. Which means sense control. Sense control. What are your senses? Your eyes, the sense of seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touching. All these things, these are like lenses. I mean, the eyes are the lenses, but they're constant. The senses are constantly going out and seeking approval all the time, or seeking pleasure. And if we don't get pleasure, we get disappointed. So the practice sometimes is to bring the senses within. Okay, this is what pratyahara means. So spend time bringing in, go in. What's inside of me? What do I want? Forget about what you want, even at a point. After you studied so much, it's not what I want. I want, the feeling is really quiet. To be just quiet. To have this so silent. That makes you so tired. So just to go deep within. And in yoga we say, for those who studied the sutras with me last week, right? When we learn to restrain yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, which means the restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. What does that mean? When we learn to restrain all these thoughts that keep coming in one after another, and just hold back. You know what? I'm not going to judge it. I'm just going to hold back and then stay quiet. It says, then the seer abides in its own true nature. Because now you're not letting your thoughts affect you. You're holding back. So who is holding back? Who is the one holding back? If you are not your thoughts, who are you? You're not your thoughts, because everybody can watch their thoughts. Would you agree in this room? Can you watch the way you think? Everybody in this room? Have you sat down and watched the way you think? Yeah? You can watch the way you think. If you can watch the way you think, can you change the way you think? And that's all we're doing in the practice of yoga. We're re-inputting new ideas to make us understand that it's just the thoughts, and the thoughts are all coming from outside, from our senses. So we bring the senses in, and that's why we meditate, in a dark room with a candle, for no other reason than to keep the senses in. That's why, and just focus on one thing, so the mind doesn't go everywhere. But once you learn to do that, you can meditate anywhere. You can meditate anywhere. But you have to do the practice of practicing being still, being quiet, looking at the way your mind thinks, and not allowing the mind to take over you. And again, you have to ask yourself, how much do you want to be happy and at peace? The choice is yours. Do you want all the material things, or do you want the peace? In the Bible it tells us, seek ye first the kingdom of God in all its righteousness, and everything else will be added on to you. What does this mean? When you find that peace within, life will give you everything you want. It will, because you already got it. When you already got it, because it's in you already. We just forgotten. And that's yoga. Yoga is to, what is a yogi? A person who constantly reminds himself, who am I? Who am I? Am I really this body? No, I'm a spiritual being having this experience. So I'm going to decide, am I going to make my experience on this earth spectacular? Or am I going to be a victim that cries all day long and say, oh my God, my life will never be well because unless this happens and unless this happens. And by the time you wait for all those things to happen, which may never happen, then you're gone. You wasted an entire life. So our work as yogis is to be happy. When I see great people around me and people talk about, oh, there's so much bad in the world, there's so much chaos, But really, I tell you, there's so much good in the world. There's so much kindness in the world. And if all of us together jointly and more people start to focus on the goodness, then the darkness cannot win. Really, it cannot win. The darkness is here because we have allowed it. We've all added this negativity to the world. We need to change the vibration. I started off by telling you how important vibration is. You go into a home full of love, you don't want to leave the home. You go to a home, you just walk in. And if it's got negative energy, you really just want to get out. Really, it is true. If you go into somebody, my master used to say, if somebody doesn't like you, please do not eat their food. It's true. He said, because the vibrations are there, and if they don't like you and they give you something because they don't like you, then, sometimes you have to take it, give it away. But if they like you and you take it, it will bless you, because that love transmits into healing. And we all know that. It's a simple thing. You're with your friends and you give each other a big hug and you just feel healed. It's just magical. And it's really, spirituality is simple. Everybody talks about, finding the self, you have to meditate like this for hours. You have to meditate, yes. It's important to get in touch with that silence within. Otherwise, it's too hard to do it. But it doesn't have to be, the practice doesn't have to be so cold. The practice for me could not be that way. I could not get in touch with that way. The practice for me was to love. And then when I found the Upanishads, I went, oh my God, I'm so excited because he speaks about God as love. I can love. And the more I love, the happier I am. The more I think about everybody loving me, the more miserable I am, because one day people love you and the next day they hate you. I've seen it. Again and again and again and again. It's happened to me thousands of times. I'm so grateful for that because I'm really strong. People love me, good. If you don't like me, also good. It's your opinion. Truth is one, not so many. If it makes you peaceful not to like me, go ahead. But it's not taking away my peace. You see, we have to be so strong. Do not allow anyone to steal your joy. That we can do. And that's why we're born to be happy. And when we separate ourselves with anger, with fear, we separated ourselves. That's all we've done. How can we be happy? It's not a chance. So nobody's making us unhappy. We are allowing it out of fear. So that's why this knowledge is so brilliant. So when you practice the knowledge and you work on yourself on a daily basis, and it has to be daily, then you get stronger and stronger. But it does take time. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, I don't believe one weekend it's going to sort your life. No. One weekend you may get the knowledge. But the rest of your life is work, work, work. And I always say, what better work than making yourself happy and at peace? Is there any better job? Because if you're at peace, everybody around you is going to be peaceful. So it's a win-win. You can't lose. And if they're not peaceful, that's their problem, not yours. It really isn't ours. We take other people's problems to be ours. We are there to soften the blow. Sri Patanjali tells us in the Four Locks and Keys, compassion towards the unhappy. When people are unhappy, we should give them compassion, not be angry with them or not put them down. You know, when we are strong, we can do this. But when we are weak, we cannot do anything. So the spiritual science is strengthen yourself. And of course, as you go within, you feel your own power. And the power is great, but it should be used to serve. Because power is power, it doesn't judge. If you meditate and you don't apply these golden rules, that's so important. Then you harm not only the world, and you harm yourself. Because anybody who meditates will connect to the power source. And like I said, the power source does not judge. So if your mind is sick, your life will be sick. And if you meditate and your mind is really sick, your life will be 10 times sicker. So if you meditate and you fill your life with love, you will get 10 times the force of that love back to you. It's just energy. It's just vibration and energy. You know, that's the law. You know about the law of attraction. It's absolutely true. You know about the law, as you sow, you reap, the law of karma. Absolutely true. You see it in lives. And that's what my guru said when he said, study the book of life. You could see, you know, when I was angry with people, oh, they don't deserve the good. And after I learned to forgive, you know, I really had to pray, please don't make any harm go to the people who hurt me, because really they taught me to forgive, otherwise I wouldn't. But you know, very, very sadly, I have seen karma does pay back to people. So I always say to people, don't wish anybody bad. If they've done something bad, they have to face it themselves. Don't wish bad on anyone, because just you wishing them bad, you put that stain on your own heart. You put that stain on your own heart. You know, when you don't feel good about somebody, you hurt, because we're one. When you're angry with someone, you hurt. You don't go to sleep. Why? Because we know naturally that we are born to love each other. And when we do that, we're happy. And of course life is going to give us tests. They'll come every single day. I can guarantee that. And don't be afraid of them. Every time you get a challenge, say, yay, I can practice to make myself stronger, and I have to let go. Non-attachment, we call it. Let go of my ego. Let go of what people think about me. Let it all go, you know. And you can be happy. Be yourself. Just be yourself. You don't have to worry about pleasing everyone. Just be you. Everyone is such an individual, isn't it? Isn't it great? I get very sad when I see many people who I think are so amazing when they come to my office and see me. And I see they have such a low opinion of themselves because they think, you know, I want to be like somebody else. And I go, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? You have so much in you. There's nobody like you. Truth is one, parts are many. You know, be you, be you. Be comfortable in your own body. That makes you happy. I think the practice did a wonderful thing for me. When I first practiced, after 2 or 3 years, the feeling I got was, I'm comfortable in my own body and my mind. Do you know, that is such a great feeling. Such a great feeling. I feel home all the time. I feel I'm home. Prior to that, I felt home was nowhere. You know, was it the States where I studied in university? Was it Hong Kong was no longer home because I'd lived so many years in Gibraltar? Was that home? No, it wasn't home. But I was looking for home physically, but home was here. I had to be comfortable with me. And I think we all have to be comfortable with ourselves. And when we have to like ourselves, and when we don't hurt, we like ourselves. When we laugh, we like ourselves. When we love, we like ourselves. When we're kind, we like ourselves. So we really have to do things to like ourselves, you know. And that's how we do it. That's the work. That's the work. And then, of course, there's all the exercises. The mantra chanting, that's an exercise. Hatha yoga helps us. All these are tools. They're tools. Just tools to help us still the mind. That's all they are. But once you found the peace, you don't need any of the tools. But until you find your peace, use all the tools. They're there to help us. Music is a great tool. Mantra chanting is a great tool. Hatha yoga is a great tool. Why? Because after you finish all the postures, at the end of the postures, if you just stay quiet, wow, it's magical. It's magical. It really is magical because your body is moved, stretched. Because you're working on all our emotional centers as well as physical. We're working on our endocrine system as well, where all the hormonal flow starts. So when all that is in balance after a class, when you bend, you bend forward, you bend back, you know. And this is a hatha class. So by the time you finish, you're quiet. So my master has this little book called the Satchidananda Sutras, and the first chapter, it's just little sayings, is called Happiness and Fun. You are happiness personified. When we forget we are happy already, we want someone or something to bring us happiness. And then we get bound. Isn't that so true? When you think you cannot be happy until somebody else makes you happy, then you're in a prison already. You put yourself in a prison. You've allowed somebody to bind you. So, be free. The purpose of the whole world is to teach us that happiness from outside is mixed with unhappiness, which is true. Anything that comes from outside one day will make you happy, next day will make you miserable. You love your house when it's all clean and beautiful. Next day when it's a mess, I don't really want to do the housework. The same house is too much work. Do you know? So I'm just giving a simple example. One day you love your business. When the business comes in, this was my husband before. Good day at business. I love my shop. I love my business. Bad day. I really can't stand being here. You know? But it's true. That's what it does, the outside world to us. Every scripture, every great thinker, every sage, every saint has told us, please do not look for everlasting joy from anything on the outside. They will give you temporary joy, but never everlasting. Nothing can make you happy. If something makes you happy, it is borrowed. So while you're happy, know it's borrowed, and tomorrow it may go. If you know that, you enjoy every moment. When you go after something, hoping that it will make you happy by getting it, you have already traded away your peace. And that is so true. In the yoga science, it tells us very clearly, to a person of discrimination, we haven't covered those sutras, to a person of discrimination, all things indeed become very painful. Wow, that means after you learn all this, instead of being happy, you realize that all life is painful? Wow, why does this happen? Because when you learn all about this, you see, when you really see the truth. When people get what they want, what happens? Comes the fear of losing it. They're frightened. Okay, now I have everything I want. What if I should lose it? So what happens? Possessiveness happens. They start to become possessive. The other day I saw a woman, and she told me this is exactly what happened to her. She'd been in love with this man for years, and they traveled all over the world separately. They met once in a while. Finally, he came back to her country, and they hit it off. And she said she was so happy. A few months later, they got married. She was so happy. 4 months later, he left. And I looked at her and go, why? And she goes, I couldn't believe I got my dream. So I started to become very possessive. And the reason why he fell in love with me was because I was so free. I loved animals. I loved the field. But the moment I got him, oh my God, I got my dream. So I was possessive whenever he went out to be with his friends. Where are you going? What you're doing? What time are you coming home? Oh my God. And he said to me, you've lost yourself in me. I didn't want that. I loved you because you were you. But now you just possess me all the time, and I'm a free spirit, and I thought you were too. And she herself said, and I said, you see, you cannot own anything. The moment you start to own it, you start to feel fearful that you're going to lose it. You have to just enjoy every minute that you have it. And that's how I look at life, I have you today, but tomorrow I may not have you. I have my home today, but tomorrow I don't. But you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to enjoy now. And that's mindfulness. I'm going to be aware of this moment now. What do I have now? And I'm going to love it and enjoy every single minute. Whatever, pain, sorrow, whatever. Because it's now, it's an experience. It's just an experience, that's all. You go to a movie, right? And you have the good parts of the movie, and you have the sad parts of the movie, and you have the adventure of the movie. No, life is pretty much the same. So when you accept that, then you don't get so attached to anything. Nothing is ours. Okay? That's the secret of happiness. Non-attachment. You can love them more because everything is temporary. But what is eternal is soul. Soul never dies. Energy never dies. And that's why we're here in this human existence. The soul wanted to experience life and be happy in life. Instead, we became attached to everything. It's mine, I want, I need, I have to have. And we put ourselves in a prison. Nobody put us there. But we go, nothing is mine. Everything is a gift. Wow, now I can enjoy the palettes, the colors, and I can paint a beautiful picture on a canvas because I have all these colors. And of course, when you paint, you need light and dark, don't you? You need shadows and you need bright lights to make the painting come alive. Our life is the same. It has no meaning if you don't go through any challenges. So all we have to do is accept challenges. That's all. Simple. And they're painful. Guaranteed. But you can still be happy. Because you are happiness. Happiness and unhappiness are in the mind. If you want to be happy, renounce those words, I, me, mine. And when you're free from all those desires, you are the happiest person in the world. If you are contented in life, happy with yourself, you won't cause injury to anyone. You just won't. And it goes on and on and on. And I just thought I would read to you some of things by our beloved Master Sri Swami Satchidananda, because these are not my words. I just studied him and studied many of the great saints and sages, and I really believe we were born to be happy and born to be free. And when you love unconditionally, you feel that freedom. You just do. And all of us can feel that. And that's why I think I do what I do, to tell us all, please don't give up on yourself. Please don't. I see too many people give up on themselves. I see too many people become bitter and sad And so, no, there's a way out. There's a way out. You can do it. Get in touch with the person inside of you. Don't waste your life. We're not here. We're not here to be sad. Sadness happens. Don't make more sadness by thinking horrible things. So that is the message I have for us, to be just really more human to each other. And then have fun, laugh, giggle, have great fun. Have great fun. And yes, we'll always be different. We'll always be different, but that's life. Can you imagine? I always say, people go, oh, I wish she was more like me or he was more like me. I go, you'll be so bored. Did you ever see the movie Coming to America? Any of you? You saw it. It was Eddie Murphy and the first wife his father wanted him to marry. He said, sit down, she'd sit down. Stand up, she'd stand up. Bark like a dog, she'd bark like a dog. And he got so bored, I can't marry this woman. And then what did he fall in love with? Somebody who was a total challenge. So different and so full of life and vibrancy. You see? And this is life, when we can appreciate the differences instead of condemning them. That's the truth, it's one. And if you really, really can't get along with someone, okay, bye-bye. Go your way, I go my way. Why do you have to fight? Why do you have to create wars? We don't get along. Bye. You be happy, I'll be happy. Easy. Easy. It's really easy. All the fights are, oh, you should do this, and you need to get more money, and you need to have the bigger house, and you need to do this, and let's fight more and get a better lawyer, and let the lawyers make all the money while everybody else is suffering. I mean, how ridiculous. And a few divorce cases that I've worked with, I've just asked me, be patient, don't be greedy. And when they're patient, they're not greedy, everything goes well. It takes 1 or 2 years to get the anger out, and then everything goes well. But just be patient and not greedy. That's the secret. And just always leave everything behind in peace and gentleness and quiet. And then when you leave the earth, the day will come, we'll all leave the earth, you can say, I left footprints of peace and joy. I left those footprints. I did something for Mother Earth. I made people laugh at the end of the day, or I looked after an animal, or I looked after my mother or my father, or whoever it is. It wasn't easy. I did it.